Well, this is the weirdest intro I've had to do because I'm recording this not knowing how England get on in the World Cup, which you've been watching for hopefully the last 5 or 6 days. If it was one day, I shouldn't be smiling anymore. If you haven't gone back and watched England in the World Cup, and you're planning to, you should probably do that before this video though, because it will be completely unavoidable to not have spoilers in this, because obviously results will flash up on screen, because I'm in reality I'm going to be chopping back and forth between a home transfer window and England at the World Cup. But this video is just home, but I won't be able to hide all the England bits, so go back and watch that first if you're interested. Hello and welcome to part 178 of It's Coming Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our traditional season review and summer transfer window. We did win the league, as you know. The Champions League didn't quite go to plan, and we drew our last game of the season with a couple of goals from Royo. We have also already pretty much spent our summer transfer budget. We were given £37 million and an increase in wage budget, and it's already spent. We have a number of players already agreed to be coming in, so unless somebody leaves, then there's probably not going to be a huge amount of additional new signings. We're going to need a couple of loans, particularly a defender, and other than that, I think we saw it. You already know about Thor. The other big one is that Mikhail Ciriello, the inside forward from Liverpool, he's agreed to sign as well, so he's going to be joining us for £85 million. There's a couple of other youngsters that will be coming in. How many of them this summer? There's quite a few this summer actually on these youngsters. As you can see, I've kind of stopped the policy of bringing in loads of youngsters at this point, because my thinking now is we'll have won the Champions League in 3 years, hopefully. So any youngsters we sign now aren't ever going to benefit us. So we're back to refocusing on players to improve the first team as that batch of youngsters start to come through. And Once the 1st of July comes around and all these players arrive, we'll have a look at the team report, have a look to see how the new signings fit in, and also have a look to see which of the youngsters are ready to make the step up. There are a handful, probably 3 or 4 of them, that are definitely going to be part of the first team squad next season and could lead to some players leaving, which could then lead to us having some money to spend on a defender, which we kind of need. But not so much because one of the youngsters is a defender. It's complicated. This could be a 15-minute video. It could be a 2-hour video. I have no idea how it's going to turn out at this point. But let's do the season review stuff first. An exciting news. Candemill has won the Premier League Player of the Year. Give him a nice little congratulations and a pat on the head. Well deserved as well. He's also won the Players Player of the Year. Lee has won Young Player of the Year, aged 24. It seems baffling that Lee can still win Young Player of the Year when he's been a regular part of our defence for 5 years now. And it wasn't as if we were his first club. He played a full season at Celtic, a couple of years in South Korea as well before coming to us. But 5 years into his home career, he has now won Premier League Young Player of the Year and is one of the best centre-backs in the world at this point. A couple of people said, I need to be wary of national service status. I was aware of that when he signed. I have looked at a few other South Korean players just to try and get an idea of if that's likely to be an issue. And it seems to be, even with the ones who are quite a bit older than him. So this guy, for example, is 29. He's not yet been called up for his national service. So I'm hoping that it doesn't actually impact game. He's 31. He's ineligible for national service. I don't know what that means. Why would he be ineligible? That's a weird one. This guy is 31. He is not called up for national service. So hopefully Lee isn't getting called up for national service anytime soon. Because if he is, it's a disaster. We don't have any defenders at that point. Best goalkeeper award. Powell gets the runner-up on that. Saidi doesn't place. I get manager of the year. Hooray! And this is the team of the year. Look at that for a team of the year. Candemill, Lee, Beron, Duric, Cristiano, Flager and Mira all in the Premier League team of the year. Obviously Beron and Duric both only here on loan and at this stage probably not going to be here with us next year. I would love to sign either or both of them permanently. We did have the opportunity to sign Duric permanently, but we decided to go with a lad from Liverpool instead. It would be nice to try and bring him back on loan though and have 2 players who can play on that left wing. Likewise with Beron, if we can't bring him permanently back to the club, which is going to be a bit of a tall order. I don't really know why Monaco let us have him in the first place. He was a regular for them the year before, and then they loaned him to us, which seems baffling. It would be lovely to have him back again, but we can't afford to buy him unless we sell someone. So we are going to need to find a partner for Lee for the coming season. And then we've got a few players who've got their Team of the Year bonuses activated. So I'm just going to hit continue a couple of times to get to the point where we do our internal awards. And then we'll start moving and shaking with some transfers. So, the real awards then, the important ones, the home end of season awards. Candemill gets Player of the Year, 47% of the vote. Beron, probably need to try and sign him permanently, 24% of the vote. Flager, 18% of the vote. Goal of the season goes to Flager for an effort against Roma. One of many, I think. He scored multiple goals against Roma, did he not? Let's have a little look at it on the replay then, just to appreciate just how sensational the performance. Oh, it was the opener. Wowzers. So Flager picks the... Oh, no, it's not. It's 4-0. That just ticked over. Flager, I mean, it's not the best goal you've ever seen, but it's goal of the year. It was an important goal. Flager, signing of the season for £53 million. Mira, young player of the year at age 21. Despite Lee being the Premier League young player of the year, he couldn't win the home player of the year. Team of the season confirms Powell is our goalkeeper, not Saidi. Back four of Candemill, Lee, Beron and Meyer, with Zupancic and Cristiano in midfield. No Alves in midfield. Duric, Costa and Flager behind Mira up front. Note, not Akemo. We got there in the end. Mira, top scorer on 21 goals. Candemill, highest average rating. Flager, most assists. Alves, best pass completion. And Flager, most man of the match awards. And there's your naughty boys club. End of season review. We overperformed in everything, as usual. We won the Premier League, got to the semi-final of both the Champions League and the FA Cup. No one cares about the League Cup. Everyone's very happy. And let's have a look at the team of 2019. Wow. Apparently this particular magazine looks back at a team from 2019 that was playing in the 8th tier of English football. So although the vast majority... Oh, this is so sad. They're all retired as players now. The team of 2019, none of them are still active players. Although the vast majority have since retired, a few continue to ply their trade. So Anthony Harris is the only player still at the club. He's an under-18s coach with us now. Shane Phillips, of course, is an England coach because he's mad and decided to leave his under-18 post here to go to Doncaster and then went to England, where presumably he'll stay until the day he retires now. But everybody else now retired. Very, very sad. Dynamics-wise, Lee, Candemill and Costa are our team leaders. That's interesting for Costa to be up there in the team leaders group. Didn't expect him to get there so quickly. End of season team meeting. Obviously, we need to be trying to win the Premier League again next year. Flager's up for it. Everyone else is up for it. Back-to-back champions, boys and girls. Season review has gone well. Pre-season can start whenever it tells me to start, and we'll just check in quickly on the Patreon youngsters, of which there are not very many left now. There seems to be a lot of them who've gone on to ply their trade in other areas of football. So if you notice yourself somewhere in this list, give yourself a pat on the back for still existing. But the rest, I genuinely think we might be at the point where no more are going to make the breakthrough. We have upgraded the youth system again, but I don't think we're going to have time for any more Patreon youngsters to break through. You never know, we might get one more. Let's just check in on Nathan Curry, as is compulsory. Nathan Curry can finally have a new player. There you go. There's your big news from the transfer special. In the next youth intake, there will be a new Nathan Curry, and I, for one, am very excited to see it. So there we go. Right, let's press on and wait for some of these transfers to happen, I guess. Well, we've made it through to the 10th of June, which means transfer window is open and new signings have arrived. So new signing number 1, Ismaila Diarra, is a left winger with 5-star potential and under-20 international, French under-20 international, who can come in and be our backup left winger behind the other new boy, Ciriello, who is a full French international, 4-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability, and he's an inside forward. We finally get an inside forward from Liverpool. It's not the English one that you would have expected me to get. Couldn't get him. I wonder if he was a star of the World Cup. He's in the squad. You already know if I played him or not. But we got the guy who's been keeping him out of the team for the last however many years. I don't understand how football works. And of course, we've brought in Thor, 23-year-old Belgian international, 4.5-star current ability. We've now got 2 of the best strikers in the world. 2 of the best young strikers in the world, and they both play for Holme. We might have to adjust our system a little bit to accommodate them both. 4-2-4, anyone? Is that what I ended up using with England in the World Cup? Because I'm thinking about it right now. I'm going to stop talking about England because it's going to confuse my tiny brain. But with those new players in, this is what our squad team report looks like. And by the way, Akamo, who... That's England. Hold on. Very confusing. Akamo, who is now our 3rd choice striker with some very good young players behind him, is being linked with a £68 million move to Leicester in the media. £68 million. We'll take a bit of that. That'll buy us a new defender. So Akamo might be on his way out. And if he's not, I don't see how we can fit him in the Premier League squad for next season. We had that same problem with Sakwa and Rodriguez both this season, where we couldn't fit them into the squad. So I think we'll probably go with Mira, Thor, and then one of the youngsters, or several of the youngsters, Mercia, Blish, Mendes are all there who can play as a striker for us. So Akamo probably does need to move on. On the left wing, we've got Seriello as our starter. These 2 loans are both going back, and various other players who can play there, plus, of course, the new boy and a couple of other youngsters who can go out there. On the right-hand side, we've got Flager, and then a couple of the youngsters, again, can go out there. In midfield, Yamin, who's had an injury-ravaged season this year, still only 27, so he's got time to turn it around, but very poor season because of a number of quite long-term injuries. But we've got Yamin, Cristiano, Zupancic, Alves. Midfield is sorted. Why is it showing us this formation, by the way? We don't play this formation. There we go. Costa and Manu with Mendes coming through. This might be the year we move Manu on, because Mendes is just about ready now. Age 19. He's one of those ones who's now been here 2 years, so can now be registered in our Champions League squad, or doesn't need to be. He can play in the Champions League with 5-star potential as well. If the right offer comes in for Manu, I think Mendes joins the squad permanently. Similarly, in central midfield, we've got Bogarski, who is very, very close. And if we got an offer for Alves, I don't see us going back to a defensive midfielder. So if we were to get a big offer for Alves, I think we probably let him go, move Bogarski into the midfield as a regular squad member. At the back, Candemil and Aleth, the best left back in the world, the best young left back in the world, and then Mayer and Vandy at right back, both similar ability. Vandy still hasn't really had much in the way of an opportunity, but apparently he's as good as Mayer, who had a great first season for us and hasn't really fulfilled that potential that he showed in that first year since, which is a bit odd. I mean, he's not the worst season, but he's not the best player at the club anymore, like he was when he arrived. Saidi and Powell in goal are both fine. We've got a couple of youngsters who might come in to replace one of them eventually, but I'm not urgently looking for a keeper. What we do need is a centre-back. We've got Lee, but Beron goes back to Monaco, which makes Juranovic a starting centre-back for us next year. I mean, he's probably ready. 3-star current ability, 5-star potential. We'd go and spend £60 million on a player with that kind of ability. So I'm not worried about him coming into the team. But aside from him and Lee, we don't really have much else. So we probably do need to bring in a centre-back or two, or have a look to see what we've got in the youngsters. So if we can move Akamo and maybe Manu on, that could bring in upwards of £100 million. We then get 80% of that, forget that red stuff at the bottom, 80% of that to spend, so we could have potentially £80 million. I think we can get 2 centre-backs for that. One of them at least needs to be English or young. And then the squad is done. Sorted. We need offers for those players we want rid of now, without having to put them on the transfer list, because if we transfer list Akamo, we're not getting a £68 million offer for him. So I just need Leicester to come in quick and offer us big money, and we can just bite their arms off. Right, quick costume change later. We've made it through to the 1st of July. Last couple of transfer bits have gone on, if it actually wants to load. So Xavi Rodriguez has completed his permanent move through to Valencia, and those 3 deals are all confirmed as well. There are still a couple of other bits and pieces that are going to go on this summer. And there's trialists that I'm looking to bring in. As ever, it's the 1st of July. You have to bring in trialists. Never too big for trialists, and a couple of youngsters that are going to come in as well. But no one really that's going to make a significant impact on the first team. One area of worry, Mira's contract is up next summer. And the media are telling me he's unlikely to get a new work permit. He still hasn't actually ever played for Brazil at age 22. We've offered him a new contract. I understand he'll be fine for this upcoming season, but he might not get a work permit beyond that, which is going to be interesting. He needs to make his Brazil debut quick, or else I'm really, really glad we signed Thor after all. But on 1st of July, this is our team report, just to give you an idea of what we've got. Now the loan players have left, and the loanees that we had sent out somewhere have returned to the club as well. So still Saidi and Powell as our keepers, Kanderman and Aleph at left back, Mayer and Vandy at right back, Lee, Juranovic at centre back, and that is it. We have 2 centre backs. Juranovic is actually now classed as homegrown in England. If I'd have understood the rules properly, he'd be homegrown at club by this point, so we wouldn't have sent him out on these 2 loans. As it is, at least he's homegrown in England, which means that's going to be a little bit easier to fit him around both Premier League and Champions League squads. So he's definitely going to be part of our first team picture next year, but we need 2 more centre-backs. I don't know how we've let ourselves get into this situation where we don't have any centre-backs at the club. Central midfield, we've got Yamin, Cristiano, Zupancic, Alves, and we've also got Bogarski knocking around the place as well. So I am open to offers for Alves, and move Bogarski up into that spot to use the Alves money to then go and buy a centre-back. Equally, if we look further forward, attacking midfield, we've got Costa, Manu, a variety of players you can also play. We've got the youngster Mendes as well, who's currently in the under-23s, which is why you can't see him. But I wouldn't be against Manu leaving. Left-hand side, we've got new boy Ciriello, but nothing really behind him. We need a backup left winger. And then on the right-hand side, we've got Flager, but again, not a lot behind him. We probably need a backup there. And up front, we probably need to sell some players because we've got Mira, Thor, Akemo, Sakwa, Mercia, and Blish, who are all first-team quality players. Akemo, I think, probably needs to go on the transfer list. There's not been any offers in for him yet. Liverpool are after him. We probably need rid of him. I'm actually tempted to try and move Mercia on as well, who is now age 21. Because we sent him out on foreign loans, he's never going to be homegrown. He's only got 4-star potential now, but his current value, £45.5 million. There are clubs who want him on loan, but I'm wondering, after a couple of fairly successful seasons in La Liga, if we can get 50 million quid for a player that we spent £10 million on and has never scored for us, that could be a lovely little bit of business to allow us to buy a defender. So I'm going to shuffle the squad around a little bit, send a few players onto the transfer list, try and generate some cash, because we really, really, really need to be able to sort out this centre-back problem, or else we're going to have a centre-back problem. Hopefully this is the first of many signs of me using my England connections here at home. Graham Marshall is signed for the club, 32-year-old world-class midfielder, on a free transfer for Manchester United. He's not actually with me at the World Cup, because I had a conversation with him pre-tournament to say his international career was over. So strangely, I'm not on his favoured personnel list. Who'd have thought? But, I mean, he's a homegrown player who can just sit as a midfield option, especially if we were to let Alves go. We could even potentially let one of the others go to generate some cash if need be. But it just seemed, for the money that he wants, which is very little, at age 32, he's an ideal man to have around just to sit in some tutoring groups with some of the younger midfielders that we've got. So Marshall is in for a year on not a huge amount of money. It seemed like a bit of a no-brainer to me. Yikes. We'll appeal that. Yikes. Well, it's a sad day, and he has been a fantastic servant for the club. But it's time for Manu to say goodbye. Not just because we need the money, but Jean-Michel Mendes is only 19, 5-star potential, almost as good as Manu already. He's a perfectly adequate backup to Costa for next season. He's also on the verge of becoming homegrown at the club as well. Mendes is going to be a key part of our future. It's time to give him some Premier League games. Manu's in his way. And not only that, what a deal. Manu, we paid £13.5 million for him. It seemed like such a lot of money to spend at the time. But 7 years later, after all these appearances, he's become a cult hero here at home. And now we get the opportunity to do a deal that's brilliant for everybody involved. We get £60 million that we can then reinvest in a centre-back that we desperately need. Real Madrid get a cracking squad player. Bit overpriced, but I'm not going to argue. And Manu gets to go back to La Liga to play for the biggest club in the world at the prime of his career. It might actually allow him to force his way into the Spain squad, although he has to get past Costa to do that, so that's a big ask. But thank you, Manu. You have been a fantastic servant. What a hero. But Manu has now gone to Real Madrid, and I'm very sad about it. Well, frustratingly, Akamo turned down a £55 million move to Liverpool. We're trying to offer him back out again. But this deal, I'm particularly happy with. Karol Sakwa, flop of the century. We've managed to sell on at a profit. Brought him in last summer, £29 million. Was a flop. Loaned him out for the second half of the season. Sold him on at a £9 million profit to Blackburn for £38 million, which means the coffers now have £53 million in them. Beron, if we were to bring him in as our centre-back, is going to cost about 80 million, so we still do need to sell Akamo. We also have Hervé as an option, who we had on loan 2 seasons ago, who could come in for 20 million. I'd like to bring them both in, but to do that, I need to sell Akamo. I'm also not against selling Alves, but Alves there's no offers for him. We've even offered him out, and there's no offers for him. I don't want to transfer list him, so I don't want to sell him on the cheap. But I feel like I might have to transfer list Akamo. Because Mercier is there, ready to go. Blish is ready to go. There's just no way Akamo gets game time next season. I think it's time to transfer list him. It's annoying because we had the deal agreed with Liverpool for £55 million, but they just didn't offer him enough money, which is mad. Maddening. We need to get rid of him so we can bring in the 2 defenders that we want. If we get Hervé and Beron, they're 2 players we trust. We know they've both played games for us before. And it completes our defence then and pretty much completes the squad. But it's a big if at the moment. Right, Beron is in £79 million from Monaco. Obviously, he played for us last year, so it's not as if it's a brand new signing that's going to be an issue to get him in the team, get him used to how we play. He knows what's expected of him. He's just played in the World Cup semi-final for Argentina against us. But he is in, and now have we got enough money to also bring Hervé in? That's the question. Because Hervé, we've got the deal agreed for £20 million. I think we can get him now. If we ask for confirmation, I think we can juggle the budgets around enough. Can we not ask for confirmation? I don't want to withdraw the transfer offer. We'll just have to wait. But Hervé, if you don't remember Hervé, he was here then. He's another one from Monaco. We'll be giving Monaco £100 million for defenders, for backup defenders. Makes sense to me. But he was out on loan at Valencia last year. He's had a lot of loans, but he was a very solid option for us 2 years ago. So for £20 million as a 4th defender with Beron, Lee and Juranovic, Hervé seems like a good option. We just need to wait for that deal to go through so we can, for them to come back to us for confirmation again so we can confirm the deal. Still nobody interested in Akamo. It's frustrating, to say the least. I just want his wages off the budget, really. He's the one who needs to go. Well, that's one less thing to panic about. Mira has his work permit. He's sorted for the next 5 years. Awesome. I know this is officially a home transfer special, but England just won the World Cup in my world. And there's a few notifications that have come through. I didn't dare show you this screen during the World Cup final episode yesterday because I didn't want to risk showing you any spoilers of transfers that had already gone through. As it turns out, there aren't any, but we'll have a quick look anyway. So Goff did win best player in the tournament. Williamson the runner-up. Williams getting 3rd place. John Goff is a player I'd love to bring to home. He's only 27. We just can't afford him. Look how much better than Flager he is. That's insane. Flager's one of the best players we've ever had. Maybe one day. Williamson got the World Cup Golden Boot with those 2 goals in the final. 5 goals from 7 appearances. He hasn't yet retired. James Powell got the World Cup Best Goalkeeper Award, further confirming that he is Holmes' #1, which he's never actually been, but I think he has to be now. And this is the the World Cup Dream Team, sorry. So Powell gets into it, and then it's mostly England players: Page, Ashworth, Williams, Nix, Smith, Williamson, all part of the Dream Team. That'll do. That'll do very nicely indeed. Now back to focusing fully on home for the rest of this transfer window. Hervé signing confirmed as well. Let's get Candemill to welcome him back, give him a squad number, all that kind of shenanigans, make sure he actually fits into the squad. Let's just do a quick auto pick on the squad and check that we've got no key players being left out. The awesome thing is that with so many homegrown in there now, there is still nobody who's going to miss out on that squad at the moment, which is cool. So he's in, which means finance-wise, we've got no money left. We do still have a Camo at the club, though. We need to move him on, because if we look at the squad depth screen again, I'm still hoping my assistant manager is going to find me some magical loans like he did previously. But we're sorted in goal. We're now sorted at the back. We've always had our 2 decent options at fullback. We've now got 4 good centre-backs: Lee, Beron, Juranovic and Hervé. In midfield, we're over-encumbered. We could do with moving Alves on. Probably is the one who would go, because he's not a natural in that position. We've got Marshall, who can be our old man, who can play as a playmaker the way Alves has been. And I want to create room for Bogarski, so I do need to let somebody go from there. But Alves is the one, and no one wants him. Up front, we still need to try and get rid of a Camo. We're sorted there. Costa, Mendes are fine, but we don't really have any backups out wide. I guess it's not a disaster when we've got Mira and Thor at the club, especially if we end up having to keep a Camo because no one wants him, with Mira being the backup on the left wing, Thor being the backup on the right wing. That's not a disaster, because it means it's a way to get them all in the team. To play Mira and Thor together in this system, one of them's going to have to drop out wide anyway, so it might not be the worst thing in the world to go with this exact squad. But I still think I'd like to get rid of Alves to make room. But no one wants him. A 28-year-old Brazil. It's because we're paying him so much money. I think that's why nobody wants him. There's a few clubs interested in taking him on loan, but I want the money so I can reinvest it in wingers. I've got no interest in loaning him out anywhere, unless they're going to pay all of his wages. After trying to get rid of him all summer, Camo has finally moved on, and it's a cracking piece of business again. We've done some good business this summer, I think. Camo gone to Brighton for £50 million. He's taken a pay rise to do it as well. We signed him for £15 million, got 4 solid years out of him. He was never anything spectacular. He was never going to be anything spectacular. He's just a solid mid-table Premier League striker worth about 15 million quid. And he's gone to the Championship. I didn't realise Brighton were in the Championship. That's a champion. You think I overpay? Brighton are in the Championship, and they've just spent £50 million on a striker. My word. Well, there you go. Camo has dropped down a division, but got himself a pay rise. He's going to score 30 goals for them this coming year. What that does mean is we now have a little bit of money again to go and find a winger. So my job now is to go and find a winger. Oh, boys and girls, if everything goes to plan, I've got a spectacular last week of the transfer window coming up. But first, let's play the Champions Shield, the Charity Shield against Arsenal. This is the team we're putting out there. A couple of players potentially playing their final games for the club. They're all part of the plan that I've got in place. So we're going with Sadie in goal, a back four of Candemill, Beron, Lee and Mayer, Cristiano and Alves in midfield, Mira, Costa and Flager behind Thor up front. The reason Mira is playing on the left wing is because new boy Ciriello is injured. He's going to miss the first couple of weeks of the new season. But let's have a look at Thor for the first time in the Community Shield. I don't usually put games in the transfer special, but as I really want to show you the end of that transfer window, now I felt like I probably had to. Plus, it's only the Charity Shield. Who really cares? But at the same time, it's Thor's debut. And I'm pinning a lot of hopes on Thor. So hopefully he ends up as good as I hope he's going to be. Because then I'll be very, very excited. Like, very excited. Oh. Right. Who have Arsenal got in their team? How have Arsenal taken so many players off us in recent years and not playing any of them? Where's Jimenez? Ricardo's there. No room for Jimenez, though. We'd have him back. He's a better midfield option than Alves is. It's bizarre. Alves, by the way, after me trying to get rid of him all summer, is now kind of forcing through his move to Paris Saint-Germain and has sparked the transfer business that I'm doing. There's a bit of a transfer merry-go-round going on with major elite footballers, and there's potentially one or two coming into us as part of this merry-go-round. It's if it all comes off, I'll be very excited, and I hope you will be too. Flager with the header just forcing the corner there. It's a good save from the Arsenal keeper. Costa to take the corner. We've not seen very much of Thor so far, which is a little bit of a worry. But, if he's not any good, Mira just plays up front, and Thor can be a backup to all the attacking positions, which is, that's a nice player to have as a backup because he's really rather good and still very young as well. This is probably the best opposition he's ever played against. Right, we've been the better team here today. Yes. We are going to make some changes, probably on about the hour mark. Just really for the sake of changing a few things around, looking at different options. Probably get Mercier out there just to see how he's developed in his 2 years away in La Liga. Now valued at £45 million, apparently. Candemer with the cross. Thor's there, and Flager with the rebound. Thor gets an assist on his debut. Flager picks up where he left off last year, full of goals, his first goal of the season. Thor looks like a giant. This is awesome. It's fun having a giant up front. And there you go, a little flick from the giant gets us a goal. I don't know that we score there if Mira's playing as a centre forward. So there's a bit of a positive straight away for having Thor in the team. Right, let's make some changes. Mira not having a fun day out there on the left-hand side. Let's get Mercier out there then. Mercier can come on and play on the left wing. He's very quick. Let's see if he can handle being out on the left-hand side. Cristiano can also come off for Yamin. We're going to swap those two over because I really want Yamin to start to come into his own a little bit as our midfield playmaker this year. He had a very injury-ravaged season last year, but especially if Alves is going to be leaving the club, Yamin needs to step up and take that role on. That is a lovely goal from a free kick from Arsenal. I mean, it was so good, it looked like it had gone wide. Saidi with no chance at all there. That might be the last thing he ever does in a home shirt because he's probably on his way out as well. Powell is going to be our first choice keeper this year. We've got McLean, the young Scottish international, who can sit on our bench as well because Saidi's just in his way. McLean needs to be on the bench. McLean really needs to be playing football at this point, but he's not going to anytime soon. Right, final change. In fact, it's not the final change, it's the Community Shield, isn't it? Marshall can come on for Alves. I'm going to bring Powell on for Saidi as well. Let's get rid of all the players who are leaving. And let's get Juranovic on. I want to have a look at Juranovic. He can come on for Lee. And should we get Gay in on as well? Who is a young right winger. We might as well have a little look at him. He can come on for Flager as our final change. Vandy is another one who's probably on his way out. So we don't need to worry about looking at Vandy because he's probably not going to be here come the first day of the season. Candemil now charging down the left-hand side. Let's have a little bit of passion. Thor is in but can't quite get the shot away. I'm looking for performances from the likes of Gayen and Mercier just to see if my gamble in promoting them into the first team squad is going to come off. They're obviously going to take a little bit of time to get used to being regulars in the Premier League, but this whole policy that we've had for 3 seasons now, it kind of falls apart if the players that came in as part of it aren't any good. Arsenal are going to win the Community Shield, and nobody cared. Right, is Juranovic at fault? That's the one thing that we'd care about. That's Juranovic, isn't it? We'll let him do it in the Community Shield. We just don't want any of that nonsense in the league. Yikes. Well, we've got Hervé as well, so it's not like Juranovic is going to have to play week in, week out. He's just one of the four that we've got. Plus, he's homegrown at... No, he's not homegrown at club, he's homegrown in England. But he's homegrown all the same, so he's handy for squad registration purposes as well. And still very young, he's going to get better. But it seems like we're not going to win the Community Shield. Should we demand more with 30 seconds to go? What more have we got to give? We brought on so many youngsters. Does worry me a little bit that my grand transfer plan might be a disaster. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's not worry about it. He's offside anyway. He's quite good, isn't he? Perhaps we should sign him. There you go. We've lost the Community Shield. Luckily, it doesn't really matter, and it gives me the opportunity to assertively say, wasn't good enough. Do better on the first day of the new season. Right, the next thing you should see should be a big pile of transfer business. Couldn't quite get the full awesome transfer window in place. I'm going to make an offer for Duric again to try and get to go through the next transfer window. Oh, they don't want to let him go now. That would have been perfect if we could have got Duric as well. When I say as well, I mean as well as John Goff. Hero of the World Cup, hero of England, one of the best players in the world. I said I was going to get a winger. I've only gone and got a winger. He can also play right back as well, which is why we were able to let Vandy go. Because as we saw for England, Goff is quite capable of playing there, which will allow Flager to play some games still. So we've got Mayer, Goff and Flager basically fighting for 2 spots down the right-hand side. But there's my winger, John Goff. I said I quite fancied bringing him to home at some point. At some point is now. So, to summarise that deadline day business, Alves went to Paris Saint-Germain, Vandy went to Wolves, Saidi was on his way out as well, but hasn't gone. I mean, I probably don't need to sell Saidi now because the deadline's passed. The idea behind Saidi going as well was so that we could bring in Duric as well, and we could actually afford to do it anyway. The deal we had agreed would have worked. We just ran out of time to do it because the Vandy deal didn't go through early enough in the day for us to be able to get the price sorted. So it didn't quite come off, but Alves has gone, Vandy has gone. We might be letting Saidi go as well, but I'll probably keep him now as compensation for Duric. Goff has gone. We did have our insurance winger come in, so we do have a backup winger for the left-hand side. Gustavo Torres has come in on loan for the season from Real Madrid, and can offer some backup on that left-hand side. I would have loved the player to be Duric, but like I say, we just ran out of time. But that means the team report now looks like this, with the transfer window complete and Duric at the top of my shopping list for January. Saidi and Powell as goalkeepers, Kandemil, Aleph as left backs, Lee, Beron, Juranovic, Hervé at centre back, Mayer at right back, with a variety of players who can play there as cover if need be, including Goff, Cristiano, Yamin, Zupancic, Marshall and Bogarski as our midfielders. Not forgetting we want Bogarski to be involved. Seriello on the left-hand side with Mira, Torres, Zupancic all able to play there. Thor as well, if need be. Goff and Flager battling it out for the right-hand side, with all the previously named players able to play there as cover as well. Costa and Mendes as attacking midfielders. Thor, Mira up front with Mercier as a backup option. New boy Fink is in there as well. Flish is still available. There's quite a few youngsters, but it's really Thor, Mira, Mercier are the 3 strikers we're going with for this season. Although there have been offers in for Mercier, which I think I'll now turn down again on the basis that we weren't able to bring in Duric. If we could have brought Duric in, we could have let Mercier go out on loan because Duric can play up front. But now we couldn't get Duric. It wasn't quite perfect. It wasn't quite the master plan that I had. But I still think we've put together a very good squad and had a very productive transfer window and signed a World Cup winning, homegrown, one of the best players in the world, which I can't really argue about that. Let's just make sure everybody can be properly registered into the squad. I don't see that we're going to have any issues on that front. Yeah, Torres is in. Excellent. So that's the squad registered. That's our new record signing, John Goff. £113 million. Seems like a lot of money until you remember Championship Brighton spent £50 million on a Camo. Paris Saint-Germain wanted John Goff. I'm very, very happy with that signing. Right, and we will leave that there for our transfer special. If it seemed a little bit disjointed, it's obviously because I was recording the World Cup all the way through. So hopefully it didn't. But another productive transfer window, I would call that. And fingers crossed, this can be the year that we go on and win the Champions League. And even if we do, the save continues. Because I think we now don't have time to do another save. So we're no longer worrying that we'll win the Champions League and end the save. The goal now is to get back home. I think we're probably 3 years away from being able to get a new stadium. So it's now more a case of racing through the seasons, trying to get the new stadium sorted, but also trying to win the Champions League at least once along the way. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.